Welcome to aminacademy.com. In human anatomy and physiology regarding lungs, let us discuss about external respiration and internal respiration. First, external respiration. This is the exchange of gas by diffusion between the alveoli and the blood in the alveolar capillaries across the respiratory membrane. Each alveolar wall is 1 cell thick and is surrounded by a network of tiny capillaries, the walls of which are also only 1 cell thick. The total area of respiratory membranes for gas exchange in the lungs is about equivalent to the area of tennis court. Venous blood arriving at the lungs in the pulmonary artery has traveled from all the tissues of the body and contains high levels of CO2 and low levels of O2. Carbon dioxide diffuses from venous blood down its concentration gradual gradient into the alveoli until equilibrium, which alveolar air is reached. By the same process, oxygen diffuses from the alveoli into the blood. The relatively slow flow of blood through the capillaries increase the time available for gas exchange to occur. When blood leaves the alveolar capillaries, the oxygen and carbon dioxide concentrations are in equilibrium with those alveolar air. Next, internal respiration. This is the exchange of gases by diffusion between blood in the capillaries and the body cells. Gas exchange does not occur across the walls of the arteries carrying blood from the heart to the tissues because their walls are too thick. PO2, partial pressure of oxygen of blood arriving at the capillary bed, is therefore the same of blood leaving the lungs. Blood arriving at the tissues has been cleansed of its CO2 and saturated with O2 during its passage through the lungs and thereafter has a higher PO2, partial pressure of oxygen, and a lower PCO2, partial pressure of carbon dioxide, than the tissues. This creates concentration gradients between capillary blood and the tissues, and gas exchange therefore occurs. O2 diffuses from the bloodstream through the capillary wall into the tissues. CO2 diffuses from the cells into the extracellular fluid, then into the bloodstream towards the venous and of the capillaries. Now we'll discuss further detail about external respiration and internal respiration. External respiration is the exchange of oxygen from the lungs into the blood and carbon dioxide from the blood into the alveoli occurring in the lungs. In contrast, internal respiration is the gas exchange between the blood and the body's tissues, where oxygen moves from the blood into the cells for metabolism and carbon dioxide moves from the cell into the blood to be transported back to the lungs. External respiration. Where it happened? Location occurs in the lungs, specifically at the alveolar capillary membrane. Process. Air containing oxygen enters the lungs, inhalation. Oxygen then diffuses from the alveoli air sacs into the pulmonary capillaries, blood vessels, and carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the alveolar air to be exhaled. Result. Oxygen enters the bloodstream and carbon dioxide is removed from the body. What is internal respiration? Location occurs in the systemic capillaries within the body's tissues. Process oxygen-rich blood transported by the circulatory system reaches the energy production. Carbon dioxide, a waste product of cellular metabolism, diffuses from the cell into the blood. Result: tissues receives oxygen for energy and blood picks up waste carbon dioxide to be transported back to the lungs. Key differences: gas exchange sites. External respiration takes place in the lungs while internal respiration occurs in the body tissues. Direction of gas movement. In external respiration, O2 moves into the blood and CO2 moves into the alveoli. In internal respiration, O2 moves from the blood into the tissues and CO2 moves from the tissues into the blood. Purpose: external respiration is about bringing oxygen into the body and removing carbon dioxide from the lungs. Internal respiration is about delivering oxygen to the cells and removing waste carbon dioxide from the body's tissue. PO2. What is PO2? Partial tissues pressure of oxygen, and PCO2 is partial pressure of carbon dioxide. Or are they? Or measurements of the amount of these gases dissolved in a liquid, that is such as blood, and are key components of the standard arterial blood gas ABG test used to assess respiratory function and acid-base balance. Higher PO2 indicates more dissolved oxygen, while higher PCO2 indicates more dissolved carbon dioxide. So far we discussed about in lungs external respiration and internal respiration, how it's happened and what are the results. We have that. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.